good? What's good? Come on in, man. Come on in. Talk some youth football. Let's just talk some stuff in general, man. I got the phone lines on in case y'all want to call in. I've been forgetting to do so. So make sure, man, if y'all want to call in about whatever topic that I talk about, today is more so free flowing, but there is something, that I definitely want to ask the people. And like the way I look at youth sports, the way I look at youth sports is a little bit different from the angle that people is coming at me from. And the way that I look at it is teachable moments, right? It's um when you got people who never seen a certain demographic, right? You got this racial undertone. Youth football helps correct that, right? Football in general, discipline, knowing how to take constructive criticism, knowing how to fight and become better throughout in adversity, right? Just life lessons that things are going to show you later on in life, right? When you have to try to figure out how you gonna pay a bill, or you try to figure out how you gonna make your next step and all this other stuff, right? The thing is this, man. A lot of folks are coaching for their own benefit, right? Remember, we already explained a lot of these good coaches already went out the door. We're dealing with a shortage of great coaches. You can tell. Coaches used to pull you to the side. That's why that video went viral, right? Because coaches used to do that all the time. Pull you to the side, tell you, man, I believe in you. You great. You got to know that you great, right? This is not a thing no more. These folks are literally, just in it because they see a way like for them to make money. Ask the question: if you wasn't getting paid to do it, would you do it? I guarantee you a lot of coaches wouldn't do it. Some coaches is like they're doing it for selfish reasons. Some coaches, again, as I told you, they're only coaching because their son is not cutting it on a different team. You have some coaches that's doing it because they see that they can make a dollar off of it. Then you have some coaches that really wants to be in there, but they really don't have a clue to how to properly develop a child, right? So the ones that was here that knew how to do all of those things, they are no longer here. They're no longer here because of parents not knowing how to, conduct themselves in certain situations. Now, I really want to come on here and talk about this, bro. Sacrifices. When are we going to learn how to make sacrifices for a better tomorrow? That's why I named it that, right? Sacrifice today for a better tomorrow. And what I mean by that is this: when you sit there and you make sacrifice as far as like you games, just little games, right? Play the games, um, you know, giving the kids experiences, giving the kids the opportunity, to travel and all this and this type of stuff, right? The sacrifices is not a thing of today. Sometimes you gotta take stuff right now to basically have a better tomorrow. So, point in case, in the NBA, not many people watch the NBA as much as they used to, but the NBA is really getting a lot of money. And the reason why the NBA was getting a lot of money is because they actually made the proper sacrifices. So you had the Larry Johnsons, the Alonzo Mournings, the Shaqs, the O'Neal. You had the Hakeem Olajuwons, right? All these people, Michael Jordan, they were getting paid pennies and compared to what these other young men are making now. But guess what the new young men are doing? They're destroying, literally, they're destroying the league, making it harder for the people that's after them. And that's equivalent to youth football. That's what is equivalent to me. It's now you got this new generation of coaches who are now making it harder for the people that's coming after this generation, after the newest generation. And instead of building it up and creating a segue, future for future players and stuff in youth football, these folks are instead ruining it. They're making it worse than what it is when they came into it. And so my thing is the way that actually can become a thing is we have to start sacrificing. We have to start sacrificing time, right? Which we are doing. We have to sacrifice uh for these kids, right? To make sure that they are um able to apply what it is that they learn on the outside of the field. I think people really thought that a lot of the stuff that I had a problem with was on the field. That's not where I got the problem. The problem is if I go to any organization, I can ask every kid, I will guarantee you about 90% when I ask them the question, what do you want to do when you get older? Outside of it can't be football. You can name it, it can't be football. What would you want to do for your career? I guarantee you a lot of them won't be able to answer. Why? Because some of these folks, and the lines are open in case y'all want to call in 770-954-5484. And so, like, a lot of these folks are not helping these kids. So I'm saying, yeah, they're getting it done, X's and O's, but that's just a part of it, right? What are we teaching them that's going to help them sustain a really good living outside of football if they don't make it to be football players? Because the other problem is, for the lack of what we kind of teach them, this is why a lot of players that goes to the NFL and all that stuff, they become broke. They have no understanding of what it takes to be successful or what they are going to do outside of youth football. So I asked that question because if you ask these little kids, hey man, listen, you cannot name football. I know you want to be an NFL player, but it's a very shortage, very few people who will make it to the NFL. Now, I'm not deterring you of your dream, but just keep that as a reality. What would you do outside of football? A lot of them folks won't know because we're not teaching them. The only thing that they're getting is other degenerate type of behavior. Fight, cuss, smoke, drink, disrespect young women, disrespect each other. But guess what they not learning? I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I don't expect a lot of people to take this knowledge today. This is more so of me venting and talking about some stuff. You feel what I'm saying? Right? Talk about some stuff. But are any of these kids being taught basic stuff? I remember growing up and they taught me how to take the fluid out of the brakes, how to put the brakes on, how to do little stuff, right? If the sink is leaking, right? Cut the water off, you know what I'm saying? Put a new washer in there. right? Because the other one might be worn out. We learned and we were taught life skills. What are we teaching these kids? See, football is something that most people focus on. I don't know if y'all caught the drift that it's bigger than football to me, because I understand football is very temporary, right? Meaning that you probably just only play till high school or college, right? There's a strong chance that you won't make it to the NFL. So, okay, that's around what? 24. What are you going to do in between that time? Is the point that I be trying to make and get people to see. That's why I be trying to tell the coaches to understand the business side, because if they understand the business side, they will be capable of teaching a lot of these kids the business side, sometimes unknowingly. Because when you're a businessman, in the way that you move and how these kids look at you, they're going to automatically uh they're going to automatically do the same thing, right? They're going to do the same thing. So how I look at it, man, I'm just saying, like, are we teaching them about being plumbers, engineers, right? Learning about computers, right? Engineering stuff. Learning about the stuff far as Tesla, learning how coding, all it, like these things, right? Preparing them for a better future. And I think the answer to that is no. So that's why, bro, I take the time out to address a lot of this stuff, because it needs to be addressed. Now I could talk X's and O's and I will, but like I say, I still want to help and make people think about, damn, it is more than just football. Like I know we talking X and O's, but when the last time I actually talked about or talked to my kid about, potentially doing something else, in just in case football doesn't work out? That's why a lot of these folks get depressed. And I know some people, are unaware of that. But a lot of times when these players don't have a plan A and don't know what they're going to do when they play football, and believe that football was going to be uh, um they everything, right? They thought football was going to be the everything. So now I work so hard just to not make it, and now I got to think about what I'm going to do next. And a lot of them get depressed. But the reason they get depressed is because they don't have an understanding of how life works outside of the world of football. So when coaches coach a player and it's only X's and O's, you're not giving them the tools to success or any of that, they're failing your child. That's why I tell people, like, if I'm literally consider coaching just so I can show the example to people, like, bro, this is how you supposed to move. So in practice, I think you only get 3 practices for a lot of cases, right? But if it's me, what I'm going to do is I might say, hey, parents, look, if you're playing for me, listen, it's bigger than football. So instead of, I know that we only practice three times a week, I need y'all to come here 4, because in the 4th, I'm gonna do a couple of things, which is I'm gonna make sure that you know math, right? I'm make sure you know your work. If you don't know, trust me, I'm still good enough to teach your son. Whether literally, I just taught a young man who didn't even know what a plus sign was. He didn't know what a subtraction sign was, and now we're getting ready to do fractions. So, and this was within 6 months. So I know how to teach a kid. I'm going to teach them basic math. I'm going to instill confidence in them. And not just that, I'm going to ask them. I'm going to ask them, listen, What do you want to be if you don't make it in the NFL? You got to ask these questions, because if they get to that point and they were good and they didn't make it, a lot of times depression kick in because they don't have a clue as to what to do. They don't know about these career jobs. They don't know how to start a business. They don't know how to start a 501c3. They don't know about the LLC. They don't know about the first thing or the terminology of business, because we don't make that type of stuff cool. We make dumb stuff cool, but we make the cool stuff uncool, which is having your own business, right? Employing other people. That's cool. Because guess what? You can help somebody, right? Pay their bills while you're also making money and creating an opportunity for your kids to be you know, in a situation to where they are thriving within society. Y'all want to know something? I know a lot of people ain't thought about this. He says, G Money says, Ken, you must be talking about your kids who does know what know what a plus sign is or a sign is. Who doesn't know? Hold on. He says, Ken, you must be talking about your kids who doesn't know what in plus sign or no. First, I was talking about a kid that I started tutoring. And to be honest, my daughter is in a gifted school. My daughter been knowing algebra since she was 6 years old. My daughter, she's doing geometry. In fact, I might bring her on here. No, my kid's straight. My son is 3 and he's doing multiplication. I'm not talking about my kids. I'm talking about a young man that who did not know it, that I was able to teach them, you know, what it was. Some people don't know. Some people don't. And I don't judge, you know what I'm saying? I actually helped. So what I was saying was I was willing to lend my time to teach these kids that didn't know it. So it ain't that I'm saying I'm like I'm not talking about nobody else's kid. I know my daughter. My daughter is now 8 years old, but I'm about to get ready to start teaching her calculus. She's 8. So I take a lot of time out with my kid. I'm just saying that I have a system that I feel that will help any kid, whether they didn't know something. And I was just basically saying that the one who didn't even know what a plus sign or minus sign was, they are they are now doing all the way up till fractions. Okay, so we're doing fractions now. So I'm not saying that in case somebody took it that way, not downplaying. I'm just saying that I'm trying to help, not hurt. And so when I say something, I feel like I got a solution to what I say. So that's what I'm saying, G Money. But let me see what you say, man. Let me go to the comment section real quick. LA, he said, we back. What's good? Hilton, he said, what it do, Ken? Nothing much. What's good, Aza? Cyrus Gilbert, he says, bro, I need you to take a little look at the Hillsboro Hawk in Tampa. Okay. Hey, if you can, definitely send me a link. Now, he said, what's good? He says, we still pulling kids to the side. He says, us good coaches. For real, you got to pull the kids to the side, man. Amy says, Parker wants to be an engineer. Hey, that's a great career. Make sure, you know, they dealing with technology as well, because that's the wave. He says, stuff, I don't have kids, but I try to teach the kids. I coach stuff that ain't gonna deal with football, right? They ain't got nothing to do with football. Then designer said, he says, my kids might not be the best, but they don't. He says, nah, speak highly intelligent. Yes, sir. He says, no, sir. He said, hell, even if you are a stud and you don't know how to articulate your words, says talking to certain coaches, they ain't gonna want they ain't gonna want you. Hey man, I feel it. I feel it. But however, man, my thing is this. Sometimes you really don't realize stuff until somebody bring it up and you like, oh yeah, you know what? I do need to do that. And that's all I'm trying to be, bro. At the end of the day, I'm tired of coaches getting what they want and then the kids end up being thrown to the side. And what I mean by that is the kids work hard, they play a damn good game, they win the coaches championships, but then it's out of sight, out of mind. And these kids are left, right, looking left to right and not having any sense of direction. So where do they go after that? The streets. You feel what I'm saying? So we gonna talk about it. Let's talk about it. That's how a lot of these folks, these kids end up in the streets because they don't know. They go to what they seen, what they've been around, and what they have a clue about. You see what I'm saying? It ain't because a lot of them are bad kids or anything. It's what they know. That's the only way that they seen how to make a money. I mean, make a lot of money, right? Which you really don't make the money. You make good money, but it's just to pay the lawyer off. Because once you get caught, then it's over, right? You're gonna end up paying a lawyer to try to get you out. But my thing is, I just want these kids to have an idea of something that you can fall back on. You can do carpentry, you can do roofing, you can do uh um even what shit, librarian, they get $30 an hour. You can do steel. Man, there's so much stuff out here that can be done, for these kids, but who is teaching them? And then they'll tell you, man, I ain't got time for all that. You ain't got time? What the hell you mean you ain't got time? You make time for everything else. Make time to find somebody who gonna bet on the damn game. You can find that time to talk to these damn kids, to see where they are, where their head is mentally. Okay? I explained to everybody, I have been in certain situations. I did not learn how to read until I was in the 12th grade. So I know what it is. I know what it's like. You know what I'm saying? He says, was you and are you uncomfortable with kids using vulgar language like in the video from the segment last night? To be honest, I don't like it. I don't like it because it's not something that you can use or fuel yourself to success, right? You go talk to them folks and they ain't gonna want to do business with you. I don't feel like them young men probably know how to turn it off. I feel like it's a ongoing occurrence. I don't really deal with the cussing, but I do meet people where they are. I do meet it where they are. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like a lot of that language is also encouraged by a lot of coaches, you know. But yeah, I am always I ain't gonna say uncomfortable, but I'm always aware and checking a lot of young kids when they out there cursing and stuff like that. Some of them be 6 years old. The only word that they can use, N word, you know, F U, B word. You know what I'm saying? Like this is their vocabulary. But I know it's learned behavior because if you don't speak properly and you don't speak or articulate yourself properly, then this is what's gonna happen. This is gonna be an ongoing occurrence. You feel what I'm saying? Designer says, hell, he says, I wonder how many coaches requesting them report cards next week. Exactly, designer. Exactly. Because it's not, and I can safely say that it's the majority. But shout out to Coach Nuke. Shout out to 404. I remember they had their kids on live and they was happy. They was asking their kids a whole bunch of questions and to see what their knowledge was and was teaching them and say, look, this is what we focus on. Make that type of stuff cool, bro. See, that's it. When I came up, that was the stuff that was lame. Well, we used to look at people that was smart. We used to call them, y'all nerds, y'all this, y'all that. Why are we making that a bad thing? But it wasn't until I got into a certain position where I realized, man, that's all programming to make somebody that's smart look to be lame. But we are really the lame ones because we not smart. So that's why I say, man, turn the bad to bad and turn the good back to good instead of looking cool. Having your kid as a very well dressed, right? Very well dressed person that can't read. See, a lot of people are more happy, are more okay with their kid looking good as opposed to being, book smart, in school and all this other stuff. That's why I say with all this TikTok stuff, I don't give no parent none an excuse because I seen how long it take for them parents to learn how to do a damn TikTok dance. So if you could take that time to do a TikTok dance, you can take that damn time to do other stuff as far as teaching your kids. So I'm not putting everything on the coaches, but what I am saying is I think that they need to become a little bit more concerned, about the kids that they are working with. Because you might be yelling at a kid not knowing this kid get yelled at all day at home. This kid get abused at home. This kid go through a lot at home just to get the same treatment by a coach who don't even care enough to see what he's going through. See, that's what I'm saying. Sports used to be a getaway for me. That's why I was able to escape the streets, because I grew up into sports. And after the sports, I went home to reality. I went home to the streets. I went home to where, hey, you don't know, any second. I done been in situations when I'm outside, they come out with shotguns and choppers. And the only reason they didn't do nothing is because they saw kids out there. At least they had enough respect. But I didn't been out there and all that stuff was going on. If y'all don't know, you see what I'm saying? If y'all don't know, it's a section. If y'all ever seen Cocaine Cowboy 2, that's the very street that I grew up on. The very street. It was a rough. Oakland is a rough place to go in. And then if you from Philly, if you from DMV, if you from Baltimore, if you from New York, y'all already know, bro. It's the same thing everywhere. It's the same. Everybody is tough. But why do we got to go through that? Because a lot of these folks don't have another direction. When I learned another direction, when I learned that there was it was something bigger than just Oakland, right? I left. I was so used to the drama. When I first came out here, I like it put like this. It wasn't of my benefit to stay. So I end up going back in 4 years. 4 days, and I was supposed to stay for 2 or 3 weeks. I wasn't used to people being nice. I wasn't used to the people, wanting to help and all this other stuff. Atlanta really helped me. It really helped me. Georgia really helped me see a side that I never saw in California. So these kids, I know some of these coaches are just as ignorant. I see it when they be talking about, trying to start stuff with the other coaches and all that other stuff. I see them. That's why I'm asking the parents, man, do better with your selection. And it's more than the wins and losses. It's about who's going to properly teach your child, who's got the respect of these colleges, who's going to help your child understand life lessons, because not every child has a father. So some of them parents are looking to them coaches as a father figure, not for you to be their father, but to have male guidance. But how the hell do you got a child when your only message is X's and O's, and don't let this dude punk you? That's the only message that I see. And so, I know it's not everybody. I know it's not everybody, but to me, it's more, it's happened more often than not. And all I've been trying to do is change the culture of how these folks look at us because of the ignorant stuff that goes on. And then a lot of people, and that's why I name it sacrifice. A lot of people are unwilling to sacrifice. The parent in that moment, they're unwilling to sacrifice a moment of being disrespected for the sake of their kid. The coaches are unwilling to sacrifice wins and losses, right, for the betterment of the kids. Some people are unwilling to sacrifice for the betterment of the sport. So nobody is sacrificing to make a better tomorrow, for the future. A lot of people are sabotaging things, but they don't care because they're getting away with it now. But what about the people behind you? The ones who actually, because there were people before you who made sure that you're capable of having these games played. And when I told people that there are senators that's trying to make sure that these kids don't even get the chance to play until they're 12 years old, right? They're making it easy with coaches that we have today that's teaching that degenerate behavior. So when we talk about all the guns and all this other stuff, when they leave practice and all this, they think that is cool. The coaches is not saying, look, man, this is just music, bro. None of them folks are doing none of this stuff that they're living. I mean, that they're saying that they living. This is just entertainment. Do not go out there and be playing with no guns. Do not go out there and shoot nobody, because you don't want to go to jail, spend the rest of your life in jail, because it's not a place for you to be. Instead, it's almost like they are the ringleaders, some of the coaches, telling other coaches what they'll do to them. And then you got kids out there listening to that stuff, and they think that this is the way that you're supposed to conduct yourself. And this is why I say it cannot just be about degenerate behavior, because them folks are already going to schools, looking at schools and saying, oh, this person can't read, they can't read. Oh, let's build some more prisons. They build prisons based on third grade testing. A lot of people didn't know that. Third grade testing. So they'll look at the fact that a lot of these kids can't read and all this other stuff. And then keep pushing them through the system, because it's all designed. Push them through the system And then when they get to a place where they need that education, they don't know it. And then where they lead to? The streets. See, it's all a cycle. But a lot of these folks ain't teaching it. A lot of these coaches know this, but they're not teaching. When you sit them down before they leave, forget just the X's and O's. Tell them, look, man, y'all about to leave here. Y'all already know it's back to life. Listen, man, y'all stay away from that drama. You know, I don't want to hear none of y'all getting in trouble. I don't want to hear about none of y'all playing with no guns. I don't want to hear about none of this other stuff. Y'all give pep talks. That can't be a 10-minute segment. Like, come on, bro. Come on, man. So when people tell me what they can and can't do, bro, you talking to somebody who has been through it, bro. I've been in the streets heavy, bro. I've been in the streets heavy. I've been the person that's illiterate. I've been this person that plays sports. I've been around the coaches that encourage, you know, degenerate behavior, and I've been around the ones who actually helped you. I've been around the street dudes that try to get you to sell drugs for them. I've been around the ones who told me not to. The one thing that people need to know, it's easy to get a baby to do certain type of behavior when you don't teach them. And a lot of them not being taught. So they easy to be misled. They're gonna go to a school where them folks are gonna pass them just because they're good at football. And then they're gonna go to college or they're gonna go to the NFL and they're gonna get messed over on their contracts because they don't know no better. Or some of them might turn to be rappers and they're gonna sign a contract that says that you're gonna get 7 points, which is 7 cents out of each dollar. And then if you don't sell a certain amount of money, you're gonna be in debt. They don't know that though. We ain't teaching that. See, every time I use the nighttime show, you know, to talk youth football. In this the morning show, I want to talk youth football, but I really want to take the time out to just say, look, bro, I know some of these folks are out here giving their time, but it ain't genuine. Some of these folks are not genuine. Some of these folks won't move unless they getting paid. Some of these folks won't do nothing without a dollar. Some of these folks are just don't know. They just want to be cool. This is popular. He said, well, I wonder how many coaches requesting them on a report card. PA says, what you are? Oh, okay, I read that one. He said, moving forward, maybe bleep out the kids cursing in videos, etc. He says they might start noticing it themselves. For sure. You know what? Definitely. And then a lot of times, bro, I be one, two. It is just like, bro, it takes more time than I really have to give to this to putting out the video. And I be wanting to put out the videos because, you know, I want the kids, I want to give the kids the opportunity to see themselves. PA said it should be a workshop study hall with a mandatory class time with tutors, right? He says teachers in place while student athletes are participating at nationals. For sure. Designer says, man, that's the hardest part, Ken. He said, learning your kid and how you need to love them. That's it. That's it. And the best way, see, and I want to say this. I want to say this, y'all, because this might help somebody. When we only talk at our kids, we only put our kids around other kids who behave in a degenerate way, who behave in a street way, who cuss all the time and all this other stuff. Our kid is going to adapt to be that same person. if we're not putting our kids in school, if we're not worried and focused on our kids' education, right? What's going to happen is this: they're going to only know how to communicate from a street perspective. They're not going to know how to articulate themselves. And guess what? That means that when the coaches, for the ones who are trying to communicate, when they try to communicate with that kid, they're not going to get through them because they're not meeting with that kid where he's at. They're not going to get to that kid. And it's going to be hard to understand that kid because that kid is incapable of fully expressing themselves. And kids that can't express themselves, a lot of them folks don't get attention. A lot of them young men don't get attention. So guess what? They knock folks over because they know that when they hear somebody talking about something, they talking about somebody from a negative light. Kids going to get attention one way or the other. They need attention. So when you give them so if you don't give them attention, they will get it at all costs. Even if that means I gotta knock somebody over to get your attention. But even if that's the only way that you will see me. Hey man, it's deeper, it's more than what the X's and O's can bring you. You know what I'm saying? So if the parent can't communicate, or the coaches can't communicate with the kids, and the coaches barely know how to communicate themselves, that's going to continue to be a communication barrier. But that's why a lot of folks get knocked off, right? A lot of these kids knocking each other off because they don't know how to effectively communicate and express themselves. So we want to end the barrier. Got to start talking to these kids and start asking them what's wrong with them. Designer says some kids, I cure them out. I hear them out, and tell them about the self to get a good reaction. He says some kids I gotta give them a hug and tell them everything will be okay to get a response I need. For sure, they all need it, man. They all need it. He says definitely rough and tough. Up here in concrete jungle, he says, but it also build character. Nah, it definitely does. It definitely does. um Kimron said, look at Biggs in the background. He says 100. He says one of the best OGNGs in 10U, for sure, for sure, for sure. But man, I ain't got too much more, bro. I hope that y'all get where I'm trying to go with this. I just think that these kids need way more guidance than what they're getting. I think a lot of these kids are becoming depressed because they work their whole life to never get something that they tried to work for, and then not having a sense of direction, so they become depressed. So we need to look at all these areas. If you don't look at the fact that you look busy without actually being busy, meaning that you look like you're achieving something or doing something without actually doing it. So these folks, playing football, and it look like they're giving the tools to success, but they're really not. They're really not. So when it comes to these kids, man, coaching is a integral part for those who want to learn football. But the real thing that matters the most is what happens outside of football. What information are we giving the kids that will properly prepare them for a better tomorrow, right? A safer tomorrow that will pretty much put them in a position to thrive. But he says, what's on tap for the night show? He said, Dr. Phil, I mean Ken. Hey man, Hey, see. PA is the prime example of what I mean. I'm sitting up here trying to give, people a understanding that these kids need more than just X's and O's. And this man is making me try to make me feel a certain way for trying to teach the kids. That's almost equivalent to me or somebody else calling a smart kid a nerd and making it as if it's the bad thing, man. I know you joking though, but that should be a good thing. That should be a good thing. But tonight, we definitely we got the 300 coach on. We got a coach on. I got an announcement about a big game that we also got made today. But we got two coaches coming on. Y'all definitely don't want to miss that. But yeah, man, I just want my kids, bro, to have a sense of direction. And they learn the most uh while they're young. So that's the one thing I need people to understand, because like I said, I have a daughter who learned a lot of stuff. She learned Swahili, she learned Spanish, she learned all this stuff young. You feel what I'm saying? So this is where these kids are most uh um capable of learning a lot of stuff. We just gotta be willing to teach them. But man, I appreciate y'all. Definitely go hit that like button. He said it will behoove you to think in such a way. Hey, for real. Hey, now that's funny as hell. But look.